Okay, now that I have a plan for what I'm carving, I've kind of worked out some ideas in the modeling clay. Now I'm ready to start carving into my block. And as you can see, I have a variety of tools here. The tools we have at the school are, of course, these stainless red handle tools. We have a lot of these picks that are good for a little detail work. Then we have these loop tools that are very good for bringing out large chunks of materials. At my house, I kind of have different versions of those red tools. They're basically just dentist tools. Cheap versions of dentist tools I got at Harbor Freight, but they're good. They're all sorts of different sizes of picks. It's kind of the same idea that these red tools are. And then I have these larger carving tools that are for clay. I'll bring these into school so we could use them too. The important thing is that you always wipe your tools off with like a wet paper towel and throw that away. You don't want to be putting plaster down the sink. Now in the classroom we have plaster traps in the sinks to prevent the plaster from going down the pipes, but of course you don't want to do that if you're carving at home. Now the first thing I want to do is I kind of want to take care of the top here with all the bubbles. I want to kind of carve that off a little bit, and then at the bottom I want to carve that a little smooth, get rid of that little indentation from the milk carton. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. You could use this as the bottom if you want to. If that's easier, I might actually do that. It just all depends on what you want to do. So you're going to see me carving the bottom down, carving the top off. One of the methods I like to do is I take this, and you have a lot of strength if you hold the tool in your hand like this with your hand behind it and use your thumb to draw. So you can see I'm using my thumb to draw the tool towards me. I'm holding the tool relatively flat. That's a good method for these loop tools. You can see the plaster is carving nice and easy. If this plaster was dry, it would not be shaving off like that. So different shaped tools do different things like that. I'm also going to use these flat tools to help flatten things out. I like using these curved tools to help flatten things out. Even though they're curved, if I hold them flat, it helps me out a lot. Alright, so I flatten the bottom out, and what I'm going to do here in a moment is I'm going to grab a compass, since I know the bottom of this is going to be round, and I have my drawing up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a compass, and I'm going to draw around what I'm going to, the circle that I want, and that will just give me some guidance as to where the edges of the circle are on the sides. Okay, so now that I got the circle of what the very bottom is going to be, so this is the bottom of my sculpture, what I want to do is mark the sides, and I actually want to draw a profile now. What the profile is going to do is it's allow me, since my sculpture is basically symmetrical, it's going to give me a guide to do a rough carving this way. Okay, so now I have a basic drawing of my profile. Okay, and it's just very simple drawing, not a lot of detail, because again, this is going to be like in the center here. There's no detail going on this surface. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of this material here straight back, and all of that material, so it's going to kind of go straight back. So you're going to watch as I carve this. I'm going to carve up to these lines that I just made and just make kind of a profile of the sculpture. Okay, now you can see I have a very basic profile of my sculpture. Again, I'm not getting into any detail right now. I just kind of shaved off a lot of the extra stuff. You could still see, here, my circle got covered up a little bit. Might be a little hard to see in the camera. You can see my circle, how far away I'm still from hitting detail there. Now my circle down here is a little bit narrower than what it's going to be up here, but still very rough right now, purposely leaving a little bit extra just because I don't want to go too much, because you can't uncarve plaster. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to flip it this way. I'm going to draw my profile in this way and rough that shape in. Once I get that roughed in, then I could really start rounding things, getting my detail in. But if you see, if you take a look here at my drawing and my profile, again, very rough, but I got a basic idea of where it's going here.